Hey, what's up everyone? Eric Rossi, the guy with the eye here. You read the title, you know what this is going to be about, but I also wanted to, I'll give you my first impressions. I'm not really going to show an unboxing of this or anything. This is something I bought with my own money and wasn't sponsored to give it to me or anything like that. And now I'm invested in several systems, brand-wise, but I also want to describe why I went with the Fuji X-Pro2 over the Fuji X100F, and then especially the XT-2. I've been going over this for weeks now when I've decided I want to kind of downsize a little bit to transition to some things and just to make things easier for me. There's just so much stuff. I just want to be a little bit more minimal with things and get what I only need. And I feel like the X Pro 2 was the perfect balance to that, but I was tossing around which of these three Fuji cameras I'm going to buy, and I had a last second change to get this instead of the X100F. Quick story about that. Today, actually Sunday when I'm filming this, probably maybe not when you're watching this, I actually went to the camera store and I was dead set on getting the X100F. I had the Ricoh GR2. I love that camera. I've made reviews on both of those and comparisons. I'll link those down below. I really did like the X100F, and that's why it's extremely hard to get a hold of, and it's out of stock everywhere. There's only 3 that come to a store, then they're instantly sold. And the camera store right by me, Unique Photo, no sponsor or anything, had 2 in, so I went there, dead set on doing that. I was trading some gear and everything like that, and I was just about to buy it. But I've always seen the X Pro 2, especially like the graphite one, and I'm like, man, that just looks so good. And a couple of my favorite street photographers shoot with the X Pro 2 and the 23 f2 lens as well. And I'm just like, man, it just looks so good and so awesome for what it is. But I always thought that this camera was a bit bulky, and maybe it just wasn't good enough, and you know, it wasn't well worth the money, because it's like $1,800 as a kit. And I said, you know what? I'm going to go with the X100F. I got hands-on in the store. The guy was a Fuji shooter there, and he really walked me through the major differences, and I did a lot of research online and everything. And as soon as I picked this up right here, my first impression was, wow, and I'll show you why. This is my first time actually owning a Fuji body in years. The only one I've owned, well, actually owned, was the X100 or the X100S years and years and years ago, and they're still on this channel to this day. But the one thing Fuji really does is customer service, and the fact that they update old camera bodies and everything like that absolutely blows me away. Now with this X Pro 2, I went with the all black model. So there you go. That's the unboxing, manuals, and your camera. There's the official Fuji seal. I'm breaking it right here so that way I can just talk about it. But like I said, as soon as I picked up this camera right here, I was just dead set on it. It was absolutely gorgeous. The screen, the speed, everything with it just blew me away. Literally, as soon as I picked it up, the grip of this camera, there's a little cutout here for your thumb, so that way when it slides into it, you're easily able to hold it. Like, I can hold this with no problem. The main issue with the Fuji X100F that I had, and pretty much the only one, a little bit autofocusing speed, even though it was very good, is that the camera is very slippery, and user experience and everything like that. I am so glad I got this. And this is everything that I really wanted. Now, online it is always difficult to judge how big and bulky something is. And like I mentioned at the start of the video, I felt that that was the case. That's why the X100F could easily fit into a pocket or something like that, and you're good to go. This right here is much smaller in person. It's not a small camera, but it is much smaller in person, much obviously smaller than a DSLR. And the black on this is great for street photography. I'll throw the 23mm on this in a second as well, so that way you can see it. But I'll tell you what, one-handed operations, all of the buttons are basically on the right side, so that way you can easily navigate with your thumb, is one of the best designs that I've seen in a while. That and the joystick to move around your autofocusing points and everything. I do really like the aesthetic of the ISO dial, the shutter speed dial, and everything on the top. I decided to switch at the last second. I'm like, you know what? We're gonna go with this. But the thing comes down to is, what's a better camera if you're not looking at the X100F? Is it the XT-2 or is it the X Pro 2? And it is a very difficult decision. Now, a firmware update essentially caught up the autofocusing to the XT-2. Both are great cameras. If you like more of a rangefinder style camera, by the way, this EVF and everything in here is freaking phenomenal. The X Pro 2 is the way to go. You're not necessarily buying Fuji for video, but the X-T2 with the grip and everything, you will get 4K video out of that. So if you are interested in 4K video, like for me, I'm not that interested, you can absolutely go that route and you will be 100% fine. But besides that, if you're used to DSLR style shooting and you want a tilt screen, kind of tilts to the side and down a little bit, doesn't fully articulate, then that's a good camera. And then, when you boost it and all that kind of stuff, you get, 9 or 11 frames per second or whatever. That's what you're going for. But for me, I didn't necessarily need that. This is what I wanted. This is essentially my form of a Leica because I'll never really be able to afford a Leica. I don't make $200,000 a year. But going on besides that, this is pretty much going to be my street kit and everything like that going forward, everyday shooting type of stuff. But for weddings and stuff like that, this will be probably my second camera on the strap. I'll use whatever camera I'm getting soon. So this is your side profile right here. This is the 23mm f2 lens. And once again, everything that I like about this is everything's really external on this camera. ISO, shutter speed, aperture, and you can run any of what you want. You could do manual focus. You have everything that you would need in a camera like this. And with the X Pro 2, you also get that dual SD card slot as well. You get the USH2 and then you get the 1. So pretty much you'll shoot RAWs or maybe video to the 2 slot, to the 1 slot that has the faster speed, and then you'll back up with the JPEGs to the other. That's how I would treat something like this camera. So that's my first impressions, and that's why I'm like, I just spent the extra couple $100 because it just blew me away. That user experience and getting hands-on really matters, and that's what you should really hear from a lot of reviewers out there, people that get their hands on the gear, not just talk specs and sit behind everything like that. It's very, very important to get someone's opinion once they actually had a hands-on with it, not including previews and all that kind of stuff. The X, it's a very, very difficult decision, and that's what I've had an issue with. And I know a lot of people who are having that issue as well. But after talking with some people who switch to use Fuji, some friends who shoot Fuji and everything like that, either it as their main camera or they got it as backups or anything, I was able to make my decision, but then it changed when I got hands-on with that. X100F, X Pro 2, XT2, all amazing cameras. To me, they serve a bit of a different purchase, but it really just comes down to what you want to do and whatever you want to shoot. Stop letting the gear control you. Get exactly what you want. Because especially with something like this, I can get lenses now for something like this, and I'm not just stuck with the 23mm lens on the X100F, and who knows what the future holds with whatever comes out. Fuji really respects people, like I said, and their users, in my opinion, and they innovate a lot for what they do. So, that's my first impressions. I'll have a video on this probably a couple weeks from now with a review or something in depth when I really get hands-on, but this guy right here solves a lot of the issues that I had. And as I said, I really wanted the grab plate version of this because it's freaking sexy, but I couldn't justify, $400 or $500 more for it. But that's my first impressions with the X Pro 2. The button layout, the menu, the way Fuji goes, super fast autofocusing, especially with that 23mm. Amazing. Well worth every penny into that thing. And if you guys or girls have any questions in regards to any three of those cameras, I've gotten well versed with them now, especially when I went into the store and really tackled everything. I would love to help out and answer any questions that you guys and girls have with them as well. I've also done a lot with the 23 f2 f1.4 and the 35 f2 and then f1.4. A lot of things out there and everything like that. Let's talk about it. And yeah, Fuji X Pro 2,